ready to say goodbye to Rafi Devers, Keefe?
See you later, Rafi Devers. Yes, I am. I've actually been ready to say goodbye to Devers for a while. This has been my overall take. See you later. Trade him. I didn't think they could. I was just as surprised as everybody else, but I'm not going to lose any sleep over them trading Rafael Devers.
Okay, so I'm actually with you on this, and I definitely expected more in return if they ever traded Rafael Devers.
Same.
I didn't think they'd move him in season, and I think the return is part of the reason why I didn't think they'd do it. I think
it's a sad day. It's a bad day.
You could get a lot more in the offseason.
So I think two things can be true. You can be happy about him being traded away. I'm not saying you out there have to be. A lot of people are pissed.
No, and people are mad.
But I'm fine. I'm fine with trading Devers. But you can also be pissed about the return.
I hate watching this team right now.
Because when we talked about we had all of our plans, like how do you fix the Red Sox? Because like for a while they were under 500 and they were just a mess, and it was like who's playing what position and whatever else. And one of my plans was trade Rafael Devers. But then I think every time we mentioned that, it was, yeah, but you can't trade him for a bag of balls and a fungo bat. They traded him for a bag of balls and a fungo bat, and they may or may not have even talked to other teams about him being on the trade block. So, like, that part, I view him separately. Like, just moving on from Devers, to me, not the end of the world at all. But getting two scrubby major league pitchers and two who-knows prospects right after you swept the Yankees, and he's having a good season at the plate. Like, he's a terrible teammate, but he's having a good year at the plate, and you're like, now's the time to do this. Pretty shocking.
So I do hate that. The actual timing of the trade when the team is just getting hot, just inviting any reason for players to check out, quit, second guess what's going on. Like the timing from that standpoint, I don't like.
Wild. The guy homers in the game. They sweep the Yankees, and then you're like, oh, he's traded. I thought it was fake. When I first heard that, somebody was like, oh, Devers got traded. I was like, okay.
It was very much like the Luka trade in that regard, where I just didn't believe it when I saw it.
No, it was wild.
And I'm with you, Keefe. I don't like the return, but I'm happy he's gone. And I think both those things can be true as well. And I think we've come to learn that flight to Kansas City.
Oh, yeah.
And it was big news at the time. We talked about it like it was big news at the time. The owner doesn't get off his ass and fly to Kansas City.
No.
Unless there are massive problems.
He's probably never been to Kansas City.
I don't really know why he would want to go there, quite frankly. And Devers, John Henry paid him $300 million, whatever the deal is.
More.
And he flies to Kansas City, middle of nowhere, in the middle of the season to go deal with this guy. And he told him no to his face.
Yep.
He told his boss's boss, the big boss,
to stick it.
No to his face.
Right.
The guy who pays him $300 million.
That's right.
And I think that was the end for Rafi Devers in Boston, as we know it. Now, it turns out they asked him to move around, going back to spring training. He refused. He may or may not have requested a trade going back to spring training. We'll get into all of this, but I'm with you, Keefe. I'm not going to miss him one bit, but the return is
trash,
problematic.
It's
one guy's
comical.
in Worcester,
Yeah.
one guy's hurt, the other two guys are A-ball prospects.
And then, like, Jordan Hicks is like the one guy I've heard of in the deal. And is he a starter? Is he a reliever? Is he a closer? Is he any good? Probably no to the last one.
I don't feel like there's much there.
The return is trash. So when I say I like the trade, like, no, I'm not talking up any of the guys they got back. And, like, that is a problem. That's disappointing. They're going to need other guys to, either stay hot in the case of, like, Toro and Romy Gonzalez, or you're really relying on your young guys, which you said you didn't really want to do. And that's another kind of aspect of this whole story is, like, those guys are all going to have to be playing and really good. But this goes back. I mean, there's such a timeline on this thing. So a couple of years ago, Rafael Devers signs this massive contract. And then going into the 2024 season, he is in spring training, and through his interpreter, he's bitching and complaining about how much help the team needs.
Yep.
He's like, he's just trashing the team. And like you and I would do. He's just like going up and down the team. And you're like, you just got paid $300 million. And you're like, this team sucks. Like, we need help. And he was right, but so
he
whatever.
was right. I actually applauded him for it at the time. I'm
it
like,
was funny.
Good for you.
But so then they have a 500 season. Then they come back this year, and then they do get help. They go out there and
it's the wrong kind of help, Keith.
Right. Yeah. That's my point.
It's help that hurts him.
So they get Bregman, and then now he's all pissy. Now he's all upset. And then he's talking about changing positions, which I still think is comical because you were a third baseman, now you're a DH. Half of your job before was basically the role of a DH, was just hitting. So that's what you're doing. So then Casas and Bregman get hurt. And they're like, hey, man, do you think maybe you could play the field? And he's like, you guys don't respect me. This is unbelievable. And then he's just a turd about it and only DHs. Meanwhile, every other guy on the team, I think, has played multiple positions. I think every guy they have has played multiple spots. I know Story just shortstop this year, but when he first came, was playing second base. So they all move around. They all do what's best for the team, except for Devers. They go out to Kansas City. They're like, hey, can you do this? He says no. And then he still never plays the field. So as time went by, you're like, man, he really told them. Or did he? They were probably thinking at that moment, like, it's going to be as simple as this. You pick up a glove or we're going to trade you. And he's probably like, screw you. Like, I'd like to see you trade me. Okay, fine. Now, where it gets problematic is they're saving a ton of money and they got a crap return.
Mm-hmm.
That part is indefensible. That part, as a Sox fan, is brutal. I didn't need Devers on my team. I'm honestly happy that he's gone. But then you can't be like, well, we saved all this money. I don't care.
I don't care about the money.
And we got some
either.
scrubby relievers. Like, you couldn't do better. So, you couldn't get a right-handed hitting first baseman. You couldn't get a top prospect. You couldn't get anything better.
Well, Kyle Harrison was a top prospect. So
okay.
he was the top pitching prospect in baseball, one of them anyway, going into last season. So he didn't pitch great a year ago. He's been worse this year.
Yeah, once you drive off the lot, your stock goes way down.
Nick highlighted this to me. He's been pitching some out of the bullpen this year. So, like,
great.
The Giants might not even be sold he's a starter. But look, Kyle Harrison, I think, punches a bunch of guys out. He's a live arm. He was a highly touted prospect. So maybe Kyle Harrison will work out. I thought they could get a more established starter for Rafael Devers. I was wrong about that. And part of that is the team's fault. They didn't shop him. Buster Olney said that last night. They didn't properly shop him around, which is a mistake. That's Breslow's fault.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The return, if you don't like it, is Breslow's fault. But I also think people are kidding themselves with the market for Rafi Devers. He's a fat, out-of-shape, expensive DH.
Yeah.
I don't think there was a massive market for the guy. Now, the Red Sox didn't even bother trying to find out.
That's a mistake.
But
malfeasance.
How many teams can take on that contract?
Yeah, but so I'll stop you there. That shouldn't be the be-all, end-all, though. So, like, they could eat the salary. You should eat some of it if you get a better return.
That's fair.
That's what I would say. You are the Boston Red Sox. And, one thing is...
But I'm just saying, you can't trade him to going back to Kansas City. You can't trade him to a mid-market team like the Royals. They're not going to take on his contract, is my only point. So you are limited with who you could trade him to, but they definitely didn't do their due diligence and shop him around, according to multiple reports.
Yeah.
So
certain teams wouldn't even want him.
That's very frustrating. And people are upset. Like, text line is already upset with us. Like, of course you guys want Devers gone. You guys know nothing about baseball.
All right.
And I heard all the calls this morning to Greg's show. I think there was like one guy who was like, good. Everybody else was so anti-team, which I get.
Yeah.
It's fine to be anti-Red Sox.
Yeah.
But I would just make sure you're pissed at the right person. I've seen a lot of people upset with Craig Breslow. I don't think Breslow's the guy to be mad at. Be mad at John Henry. It's a money-saving move. Henry's the one who, when Devers spit in his face in Kansas City, he probably said, I'm done with the guy. So, like, I would just channel your energy in the right spot.
Oh, with moves like this,
I'd be mad at ownership, and then, if you don't like the return, be mad at Breslow too. But the reason he's gone isn't Breslow. The reason he's gone is John Henry.
And it's probably even more so Alex Cora than it would be Breslow. Alex Cora wanted Bregman so badly, and Bregman is what really sped this whole thing up. And not even Bregman's fault. Bregman's a free agent. He's a better defensive third baseman. He's a great teammate, all that stuff. He comes in, plays third, moves Devers. That's really what escalated this whole thing. Asking him to play first is one thing, but already pushing him off of third base after you signed him to a long-term deal. He also feels like he was lied to during the spring. Now, that might have been Cora, that might have been Breslow, that might have been both of them. But the the reports were, Breslow didn't really want Bregman. Therefore, Breslow, I think, was comfortable with Devers being his third baseman for the next several years. But Cora really pushed for it, and then Devers couldn't handle it. And maybe Cora thought he could. Maybe Cora was like, we just need better baseball players, and if Devers is willing to be the DH and Bregman's our third baseman, those guys are going to play together. They're going to hit 2-3 in the lineup for the next few years, and this is our best chance. And he completely underestimated what a puddle Devers would turn into when you asked him to put the glove down. So Breslow's the one that technically calls the shots. Breslow's the one that's on the phone with the Giants. But Cora kind of escalated this whole thing, and then John Henry clearly more than approved it. John Henry had that conversation with him and was like, on the plane ride home, probably told Breslow, like, get a deal done. Get this guy out of here.
I agree. Yeah. See, the reason he's gone is John Henry. So if you're mad, be mad at him. And if you don't like the return, pile on Breslow as well.
The return's bad.
But the reason he's gone, like, this is like the Betts trade. I really, honestly hate comparing it to the Betts trade.
No, because Betts was a great player.
Betts is so much better than him, it's not funny.
Yeah.
And Betts is a good teammate and a likable guy and all these
Plays
things.
9 positions.
So, like, Betts.
It's like Bugs Bunny out there.
I honestly really hate to compare it to Betts. But in this way, ownership told Bloom to trade Mookie Betts. And so it wasn't really Bloom's fault that he traded Betts. The return was Bloom's fault.
Right.
But it wasn't his decision to move on. Same thing with this. And so I would just channel your energy in the right place.
I also wonder, like, the people that are really upset that Devers is gone, would there even be a satisfactory return? Like, the return's comically bad. But I'm saying if you got, especially if it's like top prospects, like guys that we don't know, we won't see for a couple of years, would you have been like, well, at least they got a good deal?
No.
I don't think so. I think people are mad that here's a guy who's having a good season at the plate.
If there was an established starter, I would have been fully on board. Like an established high-end, high-end starter, like a top-of-the-rotation kind of guy who you could pair with Crochet, yeah. I'd feel really good about moving him.
If they just swapped him straight up for Pete Alonso, I would have been like, great trade. Great trade. Let's move on. Right-handed bat is going to hit 40 bombs at first base. I know he's only under contract for the rest of the year. Fine. Devers feels like it'd be more of a problem long-term than he would be a real solution. But that's not what you got. You got a bunch of bums. So that's that's frustrating.
What I do find, so you're more down on Harrison than I am. He has not been great, but Andrew Bailey.
You see upside there?
Well, yes. I don't mind the idea of getting a guy who was one of the top pitching prospects in baseball.
Yeah.
I don't mind that.
Yep.
But
like Lucas Giolito.
Well, I'm just saying.
At one point was the top prospect of baseball.
Sure. Lucas Giolito got Cy Young votes one year. He's not good now.
Owens, I believe, was also up there for the Red Sox organization.
Look,
he lasted like 2 starts.
I'm not
Henry Owens?
Yeah.
That's a good random player of the day there, Nick.
I don't know if he played long enough to be a random player.
Nah, maybe not.
I'm not telling you Harrison's going to work out, but Harrison's already better than guys like Henry Owens, even last year, what he did in the bigs. He's punching out a guy an inning. So to me,
is he a starter at least?
Well, I hope so.
Okay.
I don't like what Nick pointed out, that he's been pitching out of the bullpen. But I will highlight this, and this just got tweeted at us, Keefe, at Jones WEEI, at Keefe21, at Jones and Keefe on Twitter and Instagram. Andrew Bailey was with the Giants. Like, these might be arms that Andrew Bailey specifically wanted. Now, I don't know that I trust him.
No, I don't need him doing that.
But I wonder if that's part of the reason they went right to the Giants. And maybe that's part of there were arms and players that Andrew Bailey thought he could work with. They felt like they had good intel on. So we'll get to your thoughts all day long. It's 617-779-7937. I think the best reporting on this story has been from Julian McWilliams, formerly of the Globe, now at CBS Sports. Okay?
Yep.
And he does put some of this on the Red Sox for their lack of communication at the beginning with Rafael Devers. But I think he has stuff that, to me, makes sense, and I felt all along, but now somebody's actually reporting it. He says this spring, the Red Sox asked Devers to take grounders at first and third after the Bregman signing. He refused and asked for a trade. Okay? He gets into all the details here and there, but those are the main particulars, and I can read from it if you want. I felt this way all along. Like, you've been very critical, and I've heard this as well. They didn't have a backup plan for Cassis at first base. So when Cassis got hurt, they were left with their pants around their ankles. I think the backup plan was Devers, and Devers refused. I think that's been their plan all along. I've always felt that way.
Yeah, but
they asked him to do it in spring. He told him to F off, and maybe asked for a trade. Now, Cotillo said he did not. McAdam, co-worker of Chris Cotillo at Mass Live months ago, said that Devers was so upset he thought about requesting a trade. So if I had to guess what's going on between the reporting of those three, did Devers specifically demand a trade right to John Henry's face? Maybe not.
No.
Did he tell his agent he wants a trade and his agent told John Henry? I bet it's something like that. That's what I bet.
Yeah, I bet. But also in the immediate aftermath of losing your position, you might just be blowing off steam. You might say something like that. I think we even talked about this at the time.
Yep.
Like, that's something that you kind of get. You're running a little hot. You're like, oh, whatever. Why don't you just trade me then? That's not like a formal trade request. And yeah, they probably did have him as their backup first baseman in theory, but it never actually played out. So that's why I still hold them accountable, because he went into the season without one. He wasn't taking grounders over there.
That he was the backup first baseman?
Did they tell him?
Yeah, did they tell Devers?
No, I think
they told him that they want him to be, and
they
he
asked
said
him
no.
to do it, and he told him to F off.
And then they were like, okay, he'll still do it. It's like, no, he's not going to. So yeah, they screwed up with all of that. You know, if Bregman and Casas are both healthy, Devers is on the team, I think. I think he's still the DH because they never had that plane ride to Kansas City. You never had to ask him.
That's fair.
And even though he went kicking and screaming, the one time you asked him to play or not play third and be the DH, he eventually did it. and he's having a good year. Like he's hitting the snot out of it. So he's doing well. These injuries kind of sped this thing up. But obviously the relationship wasn't great because that whole spring training he feels like he was lied to. And now he's pissed, and whether he really wanted to trade or was just considering it, you're considering it, and you have so many years left on your deal. I don't know how much better it's going to get as things go on, but yeah, he's gone. And the one thing it's hard to figure out with some of the other reporting that's been out on this, because initially it sounded like they only talked to the Giants, and then there was another report that came out, and they're like, well, like the Braves had inquired, and like the Blue Jays and somebody else. I'm like, all right, so were there other conversations? Because that's really bad. As bad as the return is,
yeah.
If you're only talking to one team, that's insane.
Well, and I think that reporting lines up. Only said they didn't shop him. So the Red Sox weren't shopping him around baseball, but maybe other teams, they're like, this guy looks like he's a problem. Is he available?
Yeah, other teams should be smart enough to be like, that doesn't seem like a great fit right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of Red Sox fans had their head in the sand on this. They're like, oh, you guys are making it a big deal that Devers won't move around and Devers won't play other positions, and it's just a media creation and blah, 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 blah. Like, we heard that. The whole Twitch chat, every time we talk about this, it's all they talk about. We don't know what we're talking about. It's not a big deal. You guys are the bad guys. Well, no.
He is a good teammate.
It turns out this was a disaster from day one.
Yeah.
A disaster from day one.
He asked for it. Devers wanted more help. They got it. Cora wanted Bregman. They got it. And now Devers is gone. Like, that's what happened. Those are the two biggest pieces of this. And then John Henry finally paid attention to his team for a second, didn't get the answer he liked, so he told Breslow to trade him, and Breslow pulled like a Chaim Bloom and got like a horrible return back.
So we'll get to your phone calls on this, 617-779-7937. I know you hate the trade. I listened all morning. I already see all the texts. I see you all lined up. Like, I know people don't like it. I'm with Keefe on this. I have mixed emotions. I'm happy he's gone. I didn't really want him on the team anymore, but I thought they could get more.
Yeah.
So we're trying to square those away. There's also a question about whether or not the Red Sox just mailed in their season. Did they give up on the season? Because they are playing some pretty good baseball. That would have been the headline this morning. Was there no trade? We would have showed up and talked about how the Red Sox are back and they turned their season around.
Oh, yeah, they did sweep the Yankees.
They swept New York.
Yeah.
They've won 5 straight. They're 8-2 since you got your City Connect jersey over there.
8-2 in this bad boy.
Which, by the
Holy
way,
smokes.
if you're watching on twitch.tv/BostonWEEI, Keefe is modeling it today.
It's a good day.
In honor of the Red Sox.